Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be making an egg salad sandwich, and while we do that I'm going to show you how to tell if your eggs are good, and we'll talk about the gray stuff around the egg yolks and how you can avoid it and why it even happens. So with that, let's get started with how to tell if your eggs are good. Actually, we'll do that in just a moment. First, the ingredients: 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 6 eggs, 1 teaspoon of mustard, a half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon each salt and pepper, and one celery stalk sliced. So, to tell if your eggs are still good or bad, you can just use a container of water. In this case, I'm using a 2-cup measuring cup. And we're going to take the freshest of our eggs and put it in first. And what you're going to notice is that it just sinks right down to the bottom. See, very nicely. And that's a very fresh egg. I just got that egg today. I have some other eggs that aren't so fresh, so I can show you this. Now, this egg is probably about a half a week old. You'll notice it floats just a tiny bit. It bounces really easy. It's somewhat buoyant, but not full-on floating. And finally, for the actual, oh my god, don't eat this is a bad egg, it will float. This egg is bad. That other egg that was bouncing and was on its last legs, you wouldn't really want to go too many days before you hard boil and eat those. Which is exactly what I did. So we're going to make an egg salad, and I'll talk about the gray stuff around the yolks, and we'll cover how to avoid that and why it will show up even if you do avoid it if your eggs sit in the refrigerator a couple of days. So this is an egg poker. We're going to be using an egg poker on the eggs today. These have a safety, which I'll show you in blurry vision here. And what they do is they allow you to poke a hole in the eggshell, and then water gets in between the membrane and the eggshell, and this makes it much easier to get the shells off of the eggs. So what you do is you take the fat end of the egg and you just push it right down on the punch, and it makes that hole. This lets water get in between the membrane and the eggshell and makes it much easier to shell the egg. Alright, now, bringing the water to a boil, and once it reaches a rolling boil, which is roughly what you see here, where you see the surface kind of just undulating, is when we put the eggs in. We're going to put them in for about 12 minutes, and after that 12 minutes, they'll be fully hard-boiled. And if you don't go over the 12 minutes, you should also not have a lot of gray on the eggs for the first day that you have them boiled. But sometimes you'll still get gray on the yolk. It's just how it works, unfortunately. Once our eggs are done, we want to take them out and put them in a cold water bath. That can be ice water or that can be tap water. You don't have to use ice water. Most people you'll see do use ice water because it works a little better. This does 2 things. It tightens the membrane inside the egg, which also makes it a little easier to peel. And it also stops the egg from cooking so that the gray on the outside of the yolks won't happen and probably won't be there for the first day or so. So let's get to the egg cracking, and I'll show you what I mean by both of those things. So for peeling our eggs, we have this egg. This egg was actually peeled right after I did this, so it was 10 minutes after they got boiled. And this is how easy an egg with an egg poker tends to be if it's fresh. And as you can see, that just comes right off. You just roll it around on the table a little bit and it just splits right off. It's super easy that way. Now, we're going to wait a day or two before we do the rest of them, and you'll see how that changes after a day or two. Alright, now, I left these eggs in the refrigerator for 2 days, and I've gone back to them because I want to show you how much different it is after a couple days to peel versus when you're peeling them fresh, especially if you do those water baths. This is probably about twice as difficult as the previous one, but it's still not terribly hard. Thankfully, the egg poker really does a good job. If you are peeling eggs and they're just getting all shattered and everything's sticking there, you want to put them in a container full of water like that, because that can help you rinse off the eggshells and they'll just get right off, and you don't have to worry about people getting any egg in their dishes. So basically, all you got to do is exactly what you see me doing here. Just roll it around in a ball because you want to break the entire shell up into small pieces so that the membrane, when you peel the membrane back, everything goes with that membrane all in one shot. It doesn't really work after a couple days, as you can see here, but again, if you just drop them in the water, it's perfect because all the eggshells will come right off, and then you just have to dry them off before using. Alright, now let's get to slicing them. For these first 3, I'm going to use an egg slicer, and I'm just going to rotate them do one slice, rotate 90 degrees, and then do a second slice, and then I'll do a rough chop on them, all 3 of the eggs at the end. So, while I chop those, let's go ahead and talk about the gray part of the yolk. The gray ring is caused by iron, which is in the egg yolk, reacting with sulfur, which is in the egg white. This is what causes the gray, and the longer the eggs sit, the more consistent you'll see the gray become. By not overcooking it, and that's why we did the water bath, we gave it a little more time. It's still going to have the same reaction, but it's not having immediately. So if you were doing like deviled eggs or something, you'd want to boil them right there at that day and make sure you use them that same day so that you wouldn't get any graying. After a couple of days, you'll get a decent amount of graying, as you can see from the egg I'm chopping here, and it's not going to negatively affect the flavor, not to any noticeable extent, but it's not going to be quite as bright yellow. You might want to throw in a little bit of extra mustard if your eggs are a little bit on the old side or something like that, just to bring that yellow out just a little bit more. In this case, with the paprika, I kind of went with it'll be deviled egg style, and that one works pretty good too. Now for our non-slicer eggs, I should have actually put a cut right down the middle and split them in half first, lengthwise, because that would have made it a little more stable. You could do it the way I'm doing here, but that would be a lot more stable, and it's not going to make a big difference because you're going to be giving it a rough chop at the very end once you're done with all the 3 eggs. So, or 6 at that point, I should say. You're going to try and get them all down to the same sizes anyway, so, but it's just being safe because of not being able to cut your hand. Once you get them all rough chopped, you want to get them kind of all the same size, and maybe this is a good place to take out the aggression on something if you're having a bad day. So once we get all of those chopped up and ready to go, we're going to finish making our egg salad. But first, we need to get our celery out and get that fixed up. Alright, now for our celery, I'm going to take my piece because it's a little bit wide, and I'm going to cut it right down the center and then do my slices. Your piece may not be as wide as mine, it may not be very wide at all, so you kind of have to just look at it and go, you want to keep the pieces roughly the same size as the egg pieces. That'll let you know how big to make it. So on that, we're just going to do some slices on it. This is going to bring out a little bit of a sweetness to the salad as well as a crunch, and that'll be a nice contrast to the eggs, which are going to be a very soft ingredient. It's also going to bring a little color to the egg salad, which is always a welcome addition, and with that done, we will go over and put our salad together. Alright, in a bowl with our eggs, we want to mix our 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 1 teaspoon of mustard, a half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon each salt and pepper, and finally we'll add our celery. Now, because my eggs are a little older, this isn't going to be a very bright yellow. If you're using older eggs, your salad won't be quite as bright yellow, and if you'd like to make it have that sort of eye stand out pop yellow, you can add a little bit more mustard and call it a mustard style egg salad. And it will work just fine that way. This is still going to taste great. It's just not going to be quite as yellow as if we had nice fresh eggs. Once we've finally got that all mixed together, all we need to do is just put it on some bread, and there we go. Egg salad sandwiches. Alright, and now we've made egg salad and looked at how to tell if your eggs are good. So, this is your basic egg salad recipe. This is the egg salad you would get in anywhere. If you look at a container and says egg salad, it's pretty much going to be almost exactly like this. In a bit, once this pandemic that's currently going on when this is filming goes down a little bit, I'll make mine, which is a little bit different from this, and it'll show you, again, how you're going to customize the recipe to be yours. So, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you try this, because it is a really good sandwich. If you learned anything, or liked it, please give me a like, and if you want us to come around for more, subscribe. Thank you, and have a nice meal.